I think with the holiday seasons coming up, Christmas and New Year's, especially Christmas, it's a very poignant time of year. And recently, I said a prayer and I asked God to tell me where He is at in my situation. And I got my answer yesterday. A very young lady who is only 16 years old, she witnessed to me about her family. Her dad's lost his job a year ago. They don't know where it's not that they're destitute or they don't know where their next meal is coming from. But what came up for her and I is she talked about the faith that her family has. And the words that came out of her mouth were very profound and spoke to my whole inner being. And her words of faith were that they didn't know what was going to happen next, but they felt safe and guided and protected by Jesus and the things that He did so that we could have a much more conscious way of living, and the things that He sacrificed so that we could have a much more conscious way of living. So that told me that I need to quit stressing out on things I can't fix, I can't control. I need not have any expectations and just show up every day with gratitude and love. So that was His message to me through this 16-year-old girl.
That's so beautiful, Mona. And my response to you is that you made yourself available and you made the space for her to talk about it. And that's your beauty. Mona, I know you're driving, so you can't read the chat. And Jenny wrote, expansive heart. About you. And Lynn wrote, and you brought wisdom to us today. And Jenny says, thank you, Mona.
I know that that message was meant for me specifically, but I wanted to share that message because I don't think that message was just meant for me. I think it was meant for me to share with others, because we're learning to value the importance of being present. We're learning to value the importance of being childlike. We're learning to value the importance of family and love, space, openness, and transparency. That is my gift today to the group, I believe. And I want to say thank you for allowing me to share.
I celebrate with you, David. I use the celebrate word today. And I called up a friend of mine I haven't talked to in a year. He'd had Lyme disease, was sick, better now. And he says, Jess, he says, you'll be tough to find me where you could wrap me up in an oil deal. I said, why is that? He said, I don't care anymore. He says, I just chase my kids and their cattle. He says, it's so simple. I don't know why I was making it so hard. And he says, the money's just flowing in. He says, there's something about going for what you love and doing it.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
He has no connection to this work. He's a future leader, yes. I just continue to see proof after proof after proof, the magic of creativity and how much we play in it. So that is the world in which I imagine.
David, we're having trouble hearing your sound. So we're not getting what you're saying. If you want to put it in the chat. And I'm holding space for you, as I realize you mentioned yesterday that you had 28 beautiful years with your wife, and today would be her birthday. So we're just holding space and love for you.
Thank you, Jenny.
David says thank you in the chat.
Mm.
Interesting. I felt the wobble go the other way that time. Meaning, if I think about a rope, right, that's secured at the other end, and I've got the other side of it. It's secured at the other end. The wobble has always come down. This time the wobble came back up, but it was so much tighter going that way, and it was faster. It's just like, wow. So thank you, David, for laying it out there and allowing me to observe the wobble to wiggle in a whole different way.
I love that, Jesse. I can't recall what word you used, but I still love it. It really resonated with me with the wobble being, the wobble's there, but it's, what word did you use, Jesse? It's like a stable wobble, if that makes sense. It's like a stable wobble. And then I realized, just asking myself here, what's here?
Then your sound went out. If you want to put it in the chat, we're not hearing you.
I think she's driving.
Safety first.
Mm.
Oops. We lost her.
She's back.
And she's back.
She's back.
Woohoo.
So I was keeping my attention and my focus in that end result of my true creation and what needs to be let go of in the current reality in order for that to truly manifest. The knowing and that, however, there's an energetic level that keeps on pulling me back. So I'm like, what's here? What's there? And I realized that we do have to go there for the lesson, and that's just part of avoidance, just trying to stay in the end result the whole time. That's just what it feels like to me right now. There's wisdom here, and I definitely, there's something here that I haven't gotten yet, and that's waiting for me to embrace and to use so that I can leap forward. So like I said, I need to lean in, listen up, learn from, and leap out. Because ignoring it and just burying my head in the sand and being all pretty in the end result is not doing it for me right now. And then when I was asking the questions, what's here, then I got the answer that there is something here. You need to learn from this. There's something that you can't move forward with. There's something that needs to be released. I don't know what that is yet, because that just came to me now, but I know that happened for me last weekend on a massive scale when I stuck with it and when I truly stepped into that creative tension. So that's what I have to go and do, guys. Because I'm really strong. That wobble is nice and stable. I love it. Well, I can't say I love it, but it's not chaotic and destructive as such, the way that they used to be, which is another realization.
And that's a big
Well,
one. That's a
Stable
very big
wobble.
one. Yeah.
It's so bizarre because all my self-conscious mind it's my energy body, it's my emotional body that's pulling me back, not my self-conscious, not my ego, because my ego knows that it's all the right things to happen. It's just lining up the stars for me for the great end result.
and
But
what
somewhere my body's holding the scar of something that keeps on pulling me back into the energy of
sometimes it's not yours.
I was just going to say, yeah.
It's
Well,
sometimes you can't move. It's somebody else's lesson that's in it that you feels holding it back for you. Usually those don't last long.
what came up for me also, Lynn, is, and it's what Jessie is saying, but it's, you know, I've spoken before that the Tibetans have this understanding that whatever we do for ourselves, we do for others. And whatever we do for others, then obviously we also do for ourselves. But that notion that when we're working on our own things, or that understand, what happened for me was that it was an understanding that sometimes I get through it quickly and other times I don't. It just stays longer. And I used to have the self-talk of that when it stays longer, it's because there's another part of me that's resisting. And it's not necessarily so, right? It is maybe just that I'm working it at a wider field than what I could do before. And when I switched that story of self-blame or frustration, then I could relax into it more. And then you find the seeds, because that's what those, or what resistance is so valuable for, is that each resistance and each wound holds its own solution. We just have to go in there to find it. And we can go outside. We can go outside of the wound into the light, but then we've got to bring the light back into the wound for us to be able to see or feel or hear what it's all about. So that's what came up for me with your talking. And I wanted to say this to you, that experience that you have about the wobble being more stable, for me, what I took from that is that that's happened for you because you've had that experience of oneness. And you're still in 3D, but you know that you are held in the field, completely embraced by it. Amazing, hey?
It's huge, yeah. And now I'm eating my own words when we spoke yesterday about the dark soul of the night, yeah. And this is, remember I said, oh, I can't wait for that to happen to me again. Wow. So that is where I'm excited to go right now. I do need to sit with it.
That's beautiful. That's amazing.
The
Thank you.
wisdom of wait.
Mm. Oh, that's lovely, Craig.
WAIT.
Mhm.
Good. Mm.
Oh, and here's a verse that came to me too. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Fire.
Craig,
Mhm.
that was really profound. Would you mind saying it again?
The wisdom of wait. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their
did.
strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall walk and not get weary. They shall run and not faint.
Thank you so much.
I love that thing with the wings as eagles.
Yeah,
It's
I believe that's
divine.
Isaiah.
Oh, these are so beautiful. Thank you. Jeepers.
And as I was working there, Lynn, it was like, oh, the shortcut that we have is yes and.
Yes, and what's next, Jesse?
That's right. Yes and next. Yes and next. Because really it's a yes and a yes for what just shows up. You know, and like all the time, it's like, well, sometimes I have to say no. Yeah. Like there's and it's that is the same as saying a yes and, but it's a no and.
Hmm.
But I'm always, the more that I'm trying to, like, I haven't had one that I've had to say no to that I can think of, but I know we do. But when you say yes and, it's like, okay, how can we make that work? I really don't want to, but how can I? And all we're doing is just moving right through the resistance right there. It's creation. And it was so much fun. I had conversations with guys I hadn't had conversations with in a long time and put possibilities together and like bing, bing, bing. All right, let's see what happens tomorrow.
That's contagious.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the guy wants to call me again today because he wants more. He's like, oh, I could see how that would work. Yeah, me too. I'll call you tomorrow. Okay, go eat dinner with your wife. Who was we grew up as kids together.
Oh,
Wow, Jesse.
You grew up? I didn't know.
Yeah, real quick. Real quick. Duck, duck, yeah.
oh.
I'm sorry, you were accurate. You grew up as kids. That's correct.
Mm.
Duck, duck.
Now, as adults, we're deconstructing that. Is needed. Who knew?
Silly, silly, silly.
Can somebody repeat what Mona said? I'm sorry, it was garbled.
I heard reconstructing that, and that's all I heard.
Kind of Americana.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
And no,
Okay.
There's someone's talking in the background.
Lynn, can
Someone's
you
got
mute?
Sorry.
background noise.
yep, just a second. Sorry, Mona, I muted you, Mona.
There was Joe,
All
I
right.
think.
Oh, yeah, perfect, okay. I muted you, Mona. I thought it was you, but it wasn't, so I am asking you to unmute.
What I said was, as adults, we are learning to deconstruct what we learned as kids so we can return to our innocence. Who knew?
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. I
Thank you,
love that.
Mona.
In an innocence, like what I will say for innocence, just to add a little color to it, a little meaning, is really return to the joy of a kid. And it's like, oh, all the pressures of life that I have around me as an adult. It's like, yes, we still have those, but we can't put those first. Oh, and that is just society blows me up, right? They beat me down anytime I say, let's try that once. But they're getting better. Every time it's a seed planted. And that is that deconstruction that you're talking about there. It's a pulling down of all the walls that we've put up. I mean, would you guys say the heart, then that's what we've been practicing working here because we don't do it in society, is 12 times stronger or bigger or more creative than our thinking head at least? I mean, would you guys say that? A magnitude of 12?
Or
Absolutely.
at least
10?
that's pretty low.
Like, who wouldn't want to try and listen to that? That's silly, Mona. That's silly. Not me, not us. We're not silly. What's silly is somebody waiting to see the proof. That's what's silly. Because that means you don't trust yourself. I didn't either.
Time to wait and time to create.
Mm.
No, waiting is creating.
Hmm.
I don't like that.
But is waiting aligned action always, or sometimes just our way of staying where we are?
No, that's right. It's not a. It depends on what your dominant strategy is. Yeah, it depends on what your dysfunction pattern was. If you were a doer always going, then yes, the opposite has to be your dominant strategy in the new world. Yeah. If you were a beer in your old identity, then it's like to move through your resistance, you have to do. So you have to do the opposite of what you were conditioned to do to find what you are meant to do.
So for me, Jesse, being a beer, like being, is action.
Mhm.
So it's I feel differently about that word, I think, than the way that they use it with that, with that contrast. I think what I've noticed for me, if I'm in my old pattern, that so-called being was it was a passive position. It was and blocked, right? So it wasn't really full being at all.
Mm-mm.
Full being is totally aligned. And then, I mean, That's like powerful stuff. That's what my husband would say in honor of Lynn. He would say, "Are you foresting?" He's walking around lately
Mhm. Mhm.
asking or saying, "I'm foresting."
Mm.
So
So much tighter. Thank you.
For me, waiting is a state of great anticipation.
Like the presence under the tree.
Yeah, it's
mm,
it's waiting for an impulse or a clarity as to what comes next or what might be my next. It's anticipating that
It's like
and,
the other strong.
and being alert. Yeah, being alert. And it has something to do with timing, with divine timing as well.
mm,
Some things in my experience have been a setup or a preparation for what is to come. And my own point of participation in that. So it's not passive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it's not a formula.
Oh, bingo. Thank you, Jesse.
As much as we want to, it's, I did an action and it hasn't happened in a while, but I did something and then a little while afterwards, I was like, should I have done that? Doubting myself, and it's like, it's like, that hasn't happened in a while, but it was there. Well, do you see, so this is me taking what I'm working here out into the business world differently.
Mhm.
And it's like, no, I'm just saying yes and as best I can. Oh, what's he gonna think? And it's like, I don't care. It's like I need him to think. I need him to know what I'm thinking, not hide
Mhm.
it. I
mm,
am creating space. I'm getting my elbows in there, and I'm gonna make damn room. Because I don't know if you can see all the limitations you have in front of you.
Mm.
mm,
That's
Mhm.
valuable. And the guy's going to sit there and say, oh my God, I didn't say any of that or much of that. It's like, I just colored it in for you because you couldn't see that far ahead yet.
mm.
What would we do in a new economy? How would we structure this? Equals the best thing I got. Oh God, we can't do that. Why not? Well, we've got all this big project coming up. And it's like, so let's split it with them. Oh God, what did we do all this for? For more? Do you see how it can be such a pain in the ass to work with non-creators?
Mhm.
So Jesse, when you colored in the lines, did you go outside the lines?
There are no lines.
That's my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
When you say that, I see it like a computer game when you've gone too fast out and the graphics aren't catching up.
Mhm.
You guys have never felt that.
Going back
You guys
to
aren't old
weight.
enough to have felt that.
I have no idea what that means, but I'll take it.
I resemble that remark.
I honor my
Going
youth.
back,
Yeah,
I honor it too. And going
I
back
honor my
to
youth
the
too.
weight,
Yay.
It's
going back to the
very
weight,
sweet.
can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
May I speak? Going
Yes, you
back to
may.
the weight, I had a 6 a.m. call this morning. And the quote I wrote in the chat was, your doingness comes from your beingness.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's the best kind of doing that you can do.
I didn't know it was possible.
Mm.
It's so freeing, isn't it?
Mm. It
It
sure
lets
is.
go of all of that chatter. Oh, did I do it right? I'm being loved. It's got to be right.
It will be.
Mm-hmm. No more unconscious agenda taking over.
Yeah.
Not from that space.
Right? Can I add a story?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So it was in my conversation yesterday, and the guy says, "All right, I'm opening up a like an institute here in my small town in Texas." He says, "I'd love you to come over for the summer, and I'm bringing in the guy that made the largest magnet for the CERNs."
Mhm. The collider.
Yep, yep. He's like, he'll be there. He's a really good friend of mine, smartest guy I know. It's like, all right, this guy's name is Doc, and he's the smartest guy I know. And he says, well, and then we're going to bring this other petroleum engineer guy. He's the academic. He's probably the smartest guy in the world for petroleum engineering. We're going to bring them all together. And we've got a big oil field play that we're going to develop here if that's what we want to do. But I'd love to get together and we're just going to see how we can teach the people how to get back into the joy of it.
Wow.
And he said that to you?
He said that to me.
Oh,
He says,
Wow.
man.
and it's like, you know, I was just looking for excuses to say no, you know, not to meet with these guys. No, I wasn't. It's like everything. Yes, and.
Yeah. They just gave you a really juicy invitation there, man.
That's amazing, Jesse. Gosh. To hear that from a business guy, that's like music to one's ears.
No kidding.
The shift's going on.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to look like ours. It's happening. That's why it's momentum, and that's why it's seductive, and that's why it's compelling, and that's why it's magnetic, and it's going to take off like nothing we've ever could have imagined, because it's never been that way before.
Yeah.
Just made me think of the other opportunity, but I'll save that for later.
To me, this is evidence that this organism is catching on. Like it has a very broad reach. The energy of it is given smart people the same inspirations as we've had.
We're transmitting this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that experiment where like they ask like some really hard questions to like some really clever people, and it might take them 15 minutes. Then the next group, it takes them 7.5 minutes, and the next group, each time it gets easier and easier for it to just be got instinctually.
Yes,
So
that is what I've seen.
that's
Yeah.
adding to the collective, and yeah, you're experiencing it in your reality now in ways that if you were to try and figure out how to do that, you'd be like, what? But because of your alignment, that's it. It's just wow, that's amazing. You know, and like literally you can come in because it's a great idea, but it's not gonna be as easy as you think. You know what I mean? Because of the wobbling. And that's when you can come in and perfectly assisting. Wow. But yeah, finding the joy and stuff, and that's it. Finding the joy again in this job, in what we do, in this life. That's that's priceless.
So Joe, I'll speak to that. What I've noticed and seen is that yeah, people can come in and they can start at the beginning like we did and get their learning through that. And, think of the Fibonacci sequence, the hockey stick analogy. It's like we start at the very beginning and see little progress. It takes time. It took 3.5 years for me. Yeah. It's like, oh, it took me 3.5 years. It's not going to take anyone else 3.5 years. It comes this way. Yeah. So, or if people come in, we actually can bring them to where we are much faster. So that's the key of like inviting people in where we're at. Oh, they get there so much quicker, or they can start at the beginning, or they can do it their way.
Yeah, it's like they're tapping into our energetic morphic field that we've already created. It's easier for them to tune into it because they can hear it.
Right. All the resistance we've worked as a group is still there, and it helps clean up anyone else's that comes into it. Oh, who's going to have the biggest group of removing resistance? The first ones.
And those people in Texas are already tuned into it.
Well, it's encouraging. It's the next leaders. It's
Yep.
my group, our age. That's just enough to say, forget the old ways, let's do the new ways. And my story with that was I emailed a buddy of mine that's an executive level here at a local company, one of one or two, three largest in California here, and said, well, I just had a meeting that I think will replace steaming operations here in California, which is the only way we produce oil. And I'd have a product that would replace that. And so half of their operating costs, I probably cut in half again and make a bunch of money off of that. So just some fun, $100,000 projects in the work. Thank you. Oh, did you feel the wobble?
I didn't feel a wobble. I felt an opening.
I did. I had to get rid of that wobble to see it. So I had to prove. So that was my proving.
Yeah, it's interesting how they used our language.
Well, yes, and it was his language, and it was, and so there's part of it that I'll put words in his mouth, but at the end of the day, it's like you can feel the energy when you're talking to him. You can see the momentum. You can just hear the joy, and it's like, so what do I hear? Flow, 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 right? in love. And it's like, brother, yes, yes, and
Yeah.
what about this? How about this? How about that? Yes, yes. It's like everyone around us is saying no, and it's getting really boring.
Yeah. We don't want that.
Welcome back, Lynn.
Thanks so much.
Bet you're having some FOMO moment, Bobbles.
Oh, stop. Totally.
We just
It's actually
cleaned out.
desperate.
We just
Cleared
cleaned out
that
my
up,
prover.
We
Giant
cleaned out.
That-
transformation.
What did we clean out, Jesse?
Jesse, needing proof. So I put, if you had proof, it would have already been created.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. What are you looking for proof on?
He's talking to the mute button. We're not hearing what he's saying. He's probably swearing at me.
Again?
Yeah.
Not this week. Not this week.
Duck, duck, goose.
We're gonna have to record. We're gonna have to record how many hours of laughter we have, because I think
It'd
that'll be our
funny
new
to do a
measure.
track of just have Will do that, just a tractor of our laughter and all of it just blending together in one track. That would be really beautiful.
Yeah. Who doesn't laugh when somebody else is laughing?
I know it's contagious.
Psychopath. How many of them are in the world? What is it? 0.1% or something? Are they really psychopaths?
Well, you saw mine come out. I mean, you saw mine. That's how I play
Depends on
business.
the
That's
giggle.
how I play business. I mean, I'm a psychopath in business. You bet your ass. I don't want to do it the way everyone else has done it. Mm-mm. That
Wow.
says that they're smart, and oh my God, the more and more I see, I don't see many of them.
No. You just triggered something there for me, Jesse. Because nobody else is fucking doing it. And then that brings up a lot of, lostness, loneliness, hopelessness, helplessness. Not really, because I stay in the end results, but that's just the reality of the current reality.
Lynn, do you mean
So
the no
thank you.
one else is
You've
doing
given
it part? Do you mean the no one else is doing
Yeah.
it part? Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Nobody else ever done it anyway. So that's the pattern of my life. I've always been the one to.
Darn, we lost you again.
I'm hearing a scraping noise. I'm not sure whose mic it is.
It's probably my unconscious mic.
Yeah, we missed your last sentence, Lynn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Can
We
now,
can
yeah.
hear you now.
Yeah, your last sentence cut out. It was like no sound.
Yeah.
You were
Sorry.
talking about doing things on your own.
Yeah.
Story
Yeah.
of your life. And then we heard nothing after that.
Because there probably wasn't anything. I'm just pausing and reflecting.
Oh, we thought it was profound and we missed it. Fear of missing out.
It probably was. Yeah. It's given me, because I think I stepped away for that reason. It's just given me, it's brought my consciousness back to it, where my consciousness, I think maybe, yeah, obviously my unconscious body's run away from it, I think. And that's just brought me awareness. I thought I was just leaving it because I didn't want it. But with as Jessie just spoke there, something moved inside me to tell me that's not true. So if that makes sense, I think, yeah, I stepped away from it from a sense of telling myself, oh, I didn't really want it. But Jesse, in however Jesse said it, in whatever way he said it, triggered in me, maybe you do, and you just haven't, because it triggers all that loneliness and separation and all that. So yeah.
Wow, what a shift.
I'm ready to find those other people that are the same as me, because there has to be somebody else looking for something different. I know it's a minority, but they're still there.
And when we put us all together, it's not a minority. Why is everyone doing it alone? I don't get that.
Because we were conditioned into, if you're any different, you will be put on the peripherals of society.
And they're trying. They're trying. Yet you can't fight it. You can't fight it. It's like trying to put out a wildfire in the forest, you know. Nature will.
Oh, jeepers. I was not expecting this today. No expectations. Thank you.
Yeah, wildfires are actually a spontaneous phenomena in nature to trigger decay and regrowth and rebirth.
Oh, okay.
Washes
what
all
this
the
circle is.
nutrients. Yeah,
Yep.
washes all the
Yep.
nutrients out. Yeah, new growth, new seeds, washes it down. Does
Yep.
it again the next year.
Yeah, if the forest gets too thick after 50 years or so, there's a spontaneous combustion that happens that thins it out again. It goes through the cycle again.
Just like us.
Right.
What we're doing
But-
every day.
We look at it from here and we judge it and we say wildfires are bad. Well, they're not. You know what I mean? They're necessary for the health of the forest.
I think we have a name. Wildfire.
Yeah. I've been called that throughout my life, but now it feels fun.
I like the fun in wildfire.
Yeah, big time. Creation.
Who wrote the 70s song? Wildfire, she's gonna ride. She'll be calling
Wasn't that the Doors?
wildfire.
Keep your day job, Craig.
Thank you.
I think that was the Doors, Craig.
Yeah, it might have been.
I remember that. I remember being on a swing hearing that song. Holy cow.
I can't remember it, sorry.
You'll be riding wildfire.
Yeah, I'm sorry you can't remember it too, Lynn.
Hmm.
I guess we'll be
Germany.
riding wildfire.
Say that again, Jenny.
I said we'll be riding wildfire. Where's Will when we need him for the soundtracks?
Oh, in the waiting. Is it proof that in the waiting, when there's resistance there, it's the right waiting?
Hmm.
In the waiting, I've just noticed my resistance. I
Yeah.
have to face the waiting. In the waiting, I have to go into the dark soul of lostness. Oh, peepers. Oh, I love this level of stuff because I know I've dealt with this for so many years, but this is the level that I had last weekend. And I just know what comes after.
Mhm. That may be the I don't know space.
No, I think I know.
Yeah, and we're learning to discern the difference.
You want to go into it here, or do you want to do a setup and do another time?
Oh, yeah. Well, if I say no, well, then I'm just the long lines of no. And I don't want to be that.
Well, are you in a good spot?
Yes. I'm in the best spot I could.